At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join OPTAVIA, but please note that they have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earnings representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. The stories shared reflect the unique experience of a very small percentage of OPTAVIA coaches and should not be relied upon by prospective or current OPTAVIA coaches as an indication of what they should expect to earn. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA results from successful sales efforts which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the U.S., Hong Kong, and Singapore. For OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S., please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of U.S. coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan.
Good evening, everyone. We're really honored and excited to be with you tonight. And so as you're coming into the room, say hello, let us know where you're coming in from. We love that people come in from all over the country and even different parts of the world. And so we hope you feel very welcomed, that someone invited you. And so come on in and let us know again, where are you coming in from? We are coming in from Arizona. So that's a place that we get to enjoy living. And during the daytime, we're in great weather right now, right? It's February. And so that's been really fun, but we just are excited to be with you this evening. So again, if you're just coming in, let us know where you're coming in from, and we will get started in just a minute. All right, you ready?
Let's roll.
Okay, so welcome to Health and Hope Night, Stories of Success. We are excited to share with you some things that have been just a real gift for us, and to share some stories of people in our lives and that we've been able to interact with that have really been able to make meaningful change. So we're Kevin and Bekah Tinter. We are independent certified OPTAVIA coaches, and we've had the honor to be a part of this community for over a decade. So I first found OPTAVIA, in 2011. And we had just had our third little boy in 4 years. I was struggling with some of the baby weight, but honestly, I was looking for something of meaning and purpose to do in addition to motherhood. And I was able to learn about the coaching opportunity even before I became a client. And then I was able to become a client and experience just the power of the transformation in my own life and my own health. And then I started to help other people. And then along came Kevin.
Yeah, so one of the incredible things about OPTAVIA is whether you're on your journey or you're considering your journey, the whole reason that I am healthy today is because my lovely wife, Bekah, decided to take control of her health. Truth be told, when she started her health journey, I was not supportive. But after a couple of months of watching her succeed, of her teaching me how delicious healthy food could be, I finally decided and realized that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I decided to embark on my health journey. Actually, at the time, initially, it was just a weight loss journey for me. But what we're going to talk about is how ultimately, between the community and the power of our program, I went from just a weight loss journey to an optimal health journey and an optimal health way of living. So that now, gosh, 11 years later, almost for me, I'm actually better off today in my mid-40s than I was in my mid-30s when I started this journey.
I love that. And then as you can see here by this picture, not only do we have our 3 boys have been growing up with this community, but we were also able to adopt our beautiful daughter a couple of years ago. So now we're a family of 4, 3 boys, 1 girl, and we're passing along a lot of the healthy habits that we've been learning in the last 10, 11 years. And it's been a really cool part of our journey. So our agenda for today has 3 main points that we're going to go through. First, mindset, really being awakened to the secrets of lifelong transformation. We know that there's the physical transformation for many of us, but so much of it happens up here. So we're excited to talk about that today. Secondly, skill sets, learning how to decide to move forward in your health from people who have successfully created it. And we're all on our journey, but it does take that practice and it takes that intention. And then the third piece, of course, is action. So now we have some knowledge and we have some skills that we can use, but we need to put those simple steps into action to move forward in our journey towards optimal health. And so we're going to start with our first poll. And we would love for you to put in the chat which answer best describes you. Are you an independent OPTAVIA coach? Are you a client, or are you a guest? This is a really interesting thing for us to understand. Where are you coming in from? What's your perspective? What's your experience? Okay, so we're really excited for that. And now that you've had some time to answer, we're going to move on for a minute, and we want to introduce you to someone who's very special to us. This is Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. And not only is he an independent OPTAVIA coach and presidential director, but he's the co-founder of OPTAVIA. And we have interacted with and gotten to know this man over the last 10, 11 years. And what we love about him is obviously he has a lot of medical credibility, but he's also the author of Dr. A's Habits of Health and the Life Book that we utilize as part of our 4 components on plan. And what we love is this system, the Habits of Health transformational system, allows clients and coaches to really create optimal health and well-being. And it allows us to learn along the way how to be committed and driven to developing our own skill sets, our own habits from his perspective as he's taught us. And it's really neat to see him. We call it swimming upstream. So he was in the medical field. He realized there was more work to do and he could come downstream, or he could go upstream, I should say, and he could start to teach nutrition and lifestyle approach. And that's really been part of his journey through these years. And we've watched that happen in our own lives and with our own family. And it's been a really cool thing to be a part of. So that's a big introduction for someone who we love to do life alongside.
All right. So next, we're going to talk about some statistics. One of the blessings that we've had over the last few years is to be able to travel the world. We've been a part of some missions trips to Kenya, and it's been amazing. And we actually also, when I was in the Marine Corps, we lived in Okinawa, Japan. And right around the corner from us was one of America's best exports, or most well-known exports. But we talked about the fact that we have exported obesity to the entire world, right? We had McDonald's right around the corner from us. As we travel the world, we see the negative influences of American lifestyle and diet impacting in a negative way the world all over the place. So we know that worldwide obesity has nearly tripled since 1975. And as you think about what other things have happened since 1975, right? We've exported McDonald's, a bunch of other fast food restaurants, and a bunch of other unhealthy foods. Not to mention at the same time, we've made life easier, and which allows us to be less active. So in America, which is where we live, almost a third of adults with partners, 31% report that money is a major source of conflict in their relationship. Bekah and I were just reflecting on this about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And the fact that when we started our marriage at the ripe old age of 21, one of our biggest struggles was the fact that we had very little income. 69% of workers are stressed over their finances, and 72% admit that worrying about their personal finances at work is a big issue for them. In July of 2020, rates of depression and anxiety in the US were more than triple of those in 2019. And obviously, there was a lot of factors that went into that. But one of those factors was that many people were laid off, and very few people in the country, much less the world, have a substantial emergency fund to be able to survive, not to mention thrive, if they were to lose their job. So the simple question of how are you has turned into an emotional minefield. And what we want to talk about tonight is really how we can help you go from surviving to thriving in every area of life. So some of the tools that we have is your Life Book and the Habits of Health book. So the Life Book is an awesome tool because it's your personalized plan to help you create exactly what you need. It's the individualized plan to help you go from surviving to thriving in life, right? Just like every one of us needs a different financial plan to reach our goals. We all have different goals when it comes to our health. So your life book is going to be an integral part of that piece. So optimizing your surroundings is what we're going to focus on tonight. This is element 5 in the life book. And it is so important because one of the things that we've learned over our health journey of the last 11 years is that your surroundings, and that includes the influences of people around you, but it also includes things like your pantry, right? What do you keep in your kitchen? And also we're going to talk about mindset, which is the importance of enhancing your current relationships and connections to improve and help you progress on your journey.
And this one's been so powerful for us.
Absolutely. So to be honest with you, Bekah and I were just dealing with the above the line and below the line matrix here. All right. When we talk about below the line, this isn't something to weaponize and accuse each other of you're below the line. But it's important to be aware of just where you're at, right? When you're below the line, you're closed, you're defensive, and you want to be right. Okay, when you're above the line, you're open, you're curious, and you have a growth mindset. There's a million examples we could come up with. But if you have children, it's very easy to relate to above the line and below the line. The truth is, we also can identify this in ourselves. But we just want to help you understand that the difference between being below the line and above the line is above the line, basically, you're teachable. You've got a growth mindset, and we're going to go below the line. That is part of life. The key is getting to a spot where you're aware of it, number one, and number two, you make a conscious decision to get yourself back above the line. And you know what? Sometimes we just have to wallow below the line for a little bit, right? There's times where I tell my kids, I need a break. I'm below the line right now, and I'm not ready to come above the line. So having that awareness is really important, and it's just something good for you to be thinking about as we move forward.
Yeah, and this can be found on page 121, and it's a really good exercise. And so we are talking about this with our family as well. In fact, practically speaking, in your Habits of Health book, Dr. A talks about the hot or go or the cool or no system. And what I love about this is as soon as it's described, it makes natural sense to me. And I certainly can see it in our kids because it's easier to see it in others, but it exists for each and every one of us. The hot or go is the high energy reaction, below the line thinking. And then the cool or no is like, it's taking us a minute to calm yourself down. And we have some strategies for how you can do that, but it's getting your body back into that relaxed state and running through your thinking brain, allowing you to have a meaningful, conscious conversation. And boy, sometimes it's not too difficult to do that. And other times it feels like it's extremely hard to go there, right? And so what are some things that throw you off? I think each and every one of us have personal situations or personal relationships or scenarios where it's easy for us to go back into that hot or go. We're parenting from a 4-year-old preschooler all the way to a 14-year-old teenager and everything in between. So we have a lot of moments throughout every day where we can easily fall into that category, and it takes practice and discipline. What's nice as we go through our Habits of Health transformational system in our life book is we're learning to identify those situations and then make plans. Like when we start to go there, how are we going to handle it? Not if I go there, like I'm likely to feel that way in some of those scenarios, or we're likely to have another one of those moments. I was telling Kevin, I just printed this one out to put on our refrigerator. There's a specific situation with specific kiddos that we'd like to go through with this, but honestly, we all need this. There are 4 important questions. And this whole section is found in pages like 120 through 130 of your Habits of Health book. But we really transitioned the way we thought when we stopped asking like what happened, or we started saying who's to blame. Stop asking who's to blame, and we started saying what is happening, and then what did I want to have happen, and then what's missing, and then what's next. So we're able to identify that something caused a disruption for us, but also figure out after that, like what's next, and not to just stay there. So we're all going to have drama and negative situations. It's finding a way to be open and curious to that solution-oriented, calm ourselves, and then move forward with what is next and how can we handle that. And so here are some practical action steps that we've taken that might be helpful to you.
So one thing is to immediately be aware of your breathing, right? We know that if we're in a intense kind of fight or flight mode, that our breathing is going to be very shallow. And so one of the things we can do is to, number one, just identify what is my breathing like right now? And then you can take the next action step, which is to intentionally control it. There's a technique out there called combat breathing. And this is something that I learned when I was a police officer. And before I would go into a stressful situation, or if I was en route to a call with my lights and sirens on, I actually consciously practice combat breathing, where I would take about a 3-second deep breath in. I would hold it for 3 seconds, and I would take 3 seconds to let it out. And if you do that about 3 cycles or more, you're actually able to calm down the adrenaline rush that you would have. And this, if you have kids, you're going to be in situations where this is applicable, right? And many of us, what we want to do when we encounter a stressful situation, maybe it's a fight with our spouse or a family member or a boss, right? We start deep breathing, that crazy breathing, and we want to go eat sugar, right? Because that's how our bodies were designed, is we crave that sugar. It's a stress management technique that does not serve us well, okay? Cooling down before we speak is so important so that we don't have regrets about things that we say without thinking. Take a drink before speaking. This is a phenomenal little technique, right? Have that sip of water. It calms you down. It also shows the other person that you're in control of at least yourself, maybe not the situation, but you're in control of yourself. And then choose a response that will improve your health or improve your relationships, right? We can either go for the pantry and pick some unhealthy food, or we can take a sip of water and go for a walk. And then counting to 10 or higher than that, if necessary, before responding is really important. And it's a great way to buy yourself some time. So the secrets of lifelong transformation, we can tell you from personal testimony and personal experience that all 4 of these are essential. We've heard it described that if you imagine that each one of these represents a 25% chance of success, obviously there's never a 100% guarantee when it comes to your health. But if you imagine that if you want to get as close to a 100% chance of being successful in your health journey and in your finances and in your relationships, you're going to want to incorporate all 4 of these. So when it comes to your health, you've got your independent OPTAVIA coach. Bekah and I still lean into our coaches on a regular basis. I know I touch base with mine every single Monday, with very few exceptions. The Habits of Health Transformational System, once again, we've talked about it, but it's an amazing tool. One of the ways that I've heard this referenced is it's kind of the insurance policy that once you reach a healthy weight, you'll have the plan in place to help you not only maintain a healthy weight, but really move towards optimization or thriving in your health. The OPTAVIA community is incredibly important, whether it's just your spouse and your family being on board and connecting with your coach, to the fact that we know we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. So the more healthy people that you can surround yourself with, or the more positive influences you can have on your community to steer them towards health, the easier it will be for you to be healthy yourself. And then the fuelings, these are an incredible tool that we still use 11 years later because it's healthy fast food nutrition, right? We know that convenience is a huge factor in getting healthy and staying healthy. And so we're grateful that we have a convenient option still 11 years later that helps us to stay healthy.
So now we would love for you to take just a second and tell us which of the 4 components that Kevin just talked through is the most valuable for you. Is it the OPTAVIA coach? Is it the Habits of Health Transformational System? Is it the OPTAVIA community or the OPTAVIA fuelings? Don't be afraid to check more than one box, or maybe all. So just take a minute and let us know what is the most valuable to you. Great. So now we want to introduce a friend and someone who's taken their journey to health to another level. And Jen's going to share a little bit about her health transformation, how she's really transformed her physical body, as you can see here, but how she's utilized the fuelings and how these changes have really affected her. So Jen, we'd love to hear your story for a minute.
Kevin and Bekah, thank you so much. Kevin, thanks for that pointer on the combat breathing. I actually just used it right now, so thanks. You guys, I'm so excited to share my story. And, here's who I'm talking to. If 6 months ago, before I started this journey, I felt desperate. I don't know if any of you guys have had that feeling of, I literally felt like I was in chains and drowning because my physical health was so poor. It's hard for me to look at these pictures. My gosh. I was really desperate, guys. And, rewind 30 years ago, I had somebody that I looked up to that made a comment about my body. And at that point, I was really skinny. And from 13 on, I struggled with body image. I did diet after diet. And, until my early 20s, mid 20s, it was fairly under control. It was funny because I lived in a house full of college roommates and they were super healthy. I remember we made chicken stir fry every night. I was super active, and so it was easy to maintain that health. And then at 26, I got married to my amazing husband, Corey, and he was an electrician at the time, and he was doing electrical work on a chicken farm and couldn't handle chicken. So honestly, my eating habits changed the moment I got married and moved in with Corey, and we started eating beef and potatoes and bread. And within 6 months, I'd gained 10 pounds. And that was hard for me, struggling with body image for so long and then having 10 pounds. So for the past couple decades, I have honestly been trying to lose the perpetual 10 pounds and continuing being active. I had 2 boys, 13 months apart, and just trying to continue to stay healthy. And what happened is I would get injured by doing workouts. I couldn't work out. I tore a disc while working out. I fractured my ankle and tore some tendons while working out. And so I had to take a break from activity. And the way that I coped with stress was eating. I found comfort in eating. And so, those perpetual 10 pounds, all of a sudden, a couple pounds every year kept creeping on. And I was 35 pounds overweight. And I know to some that doesn't sound like a lot, but you guys, my physicality, I felt gross in my body. I felt constantly bloated. I felt uncomfortable. My self-image had taken a hit. My mental state had taken a hit. And I was just struggling. On the outside, I'm pretty upbeat. So I don't know if a lot of people knew. My husband sure knew. And I think when outside of our 4 walls, I presented this image, but inside the 4 walls of our home, it was probably really hard to live with me because I was so unhappy with myself. And so in spring of 2021, I got pretty sick. And once I recovered, I ended up going to the doctor and I had some blood work, and she diagnosed me as pre-diabetic. And the perfectionist of me, getting diagnosed pre-diabetic, and granted it was temporary, but she just said, my mom also struggled with the same thing. So she said, heredity, I was predisposed to that. And she said, you need to make some changes. Well, I had tried everything. I tried intermittent fasting. I tried keto. I tried this thing called ski team diet. My sisters and I did, and that was horrible. And my body was just trashed. And more than my body, my spirit and my self-trust took a hit big time. And I remember Corey and I were watching this movie, and maybe some of you guys can relate. This wife was in the kitchen and she made sure nobody was home, and she started stuffing her face with cookies and she hid the wrapper in the garbage. And Corey made a comment. He's like, nobody does that. I'm like, babe, I do that. I do that all the time. I would sneak food because I felt guilty. I didn't want anybody to know. And I had just sabotaged my self-trust. And so after I got the news from my doctor, I was at the point of desperation. And you guys, something flashed in my mind. And Kev, you don't even know this, but I had met Bekah and Kevin 10 years prior. We went to this large church. They hosted this dinner that our church would put on, where they had a couple couples come to their home. And Corey and I went. And I remember there was something about this couple. I'm like, they are really amazing. I didn't know what they did fully. And I was at the point where I wasn't open, so I didn't ask questions. But I remember seeing this coffee cup on their counter, and there was this picture of Kevin, a before and after, and it said, I lost 35 pounds, ask me how. And that flashed in my mind. in June. And I was like, I need to find them. And so thank God that you guys are successful, because I went online and I found you guys on Instagram right away. And I messaged Bekah and I said, you're not going to remember me. I met you 10 years ago, but I know you help people get healthy and I'm desperate. And so she was just super gracious and reached out. And sorry, guys, like, weight is vulnerable, right? It's such a vulnerable subject. And I remember talking to her and just saying, I don't think you can help me. I've tried everything. And wow. And she said, Jen, as long as you don't have certain medical conditions and you can stick to the plan, I will help you. And so I had to kind of wait to start my journey until August 2nd, because Corey and I had some out of town plans. And so I started my journey August 2nd. And what I loved about it is I needed something simple and I needed something structured that I could follow. Like, I was like, okay, as long as I can follow, I will do it. And the first few days, they were hard, but you guys, you know what's crazy is I started gaining some self-trust and feeling powerful within the first couple days. And so even before like the physical stuff started changing, this started changing. And I loved the coaching. I loved the curriculum. And what was cool is I was like, I think that I'm not only going to make the changes, but this is something that's going to stick and last. And, you know, I went from barely sleeping. I would sleep like 5 hours a night if I was lucky. Often I would wake up at 1 a.m. and I would be up until 5 because I'd be so hungry. And honestly, I couldn't fall back asleep unless I ate a full meal. This was probably why my weight was getting out of control. And I couldn't sleep. I didn't value sleep. I didn't value like mindfulness, any of that. And what I loved is through the curriculum, I started seeing that optimal health is so much more about food that you put in your mouth, right? And all of these pieces started coming together and I got excited. And so the thing is, I love to talk. So I've had a lot of vulnerable conversations with people about weight, and I knew there were people that felt the same way I felt, and I felt like I needed to share it. So I reached out to a handful of people and said, I think I found something. Like, my mind's feeling great, my body's feeling great. And 5 people joined me on my journey. And honestly, there was this click, like, oh my gosh, I think that I can do this. I think that I can actually start coaching people. Like, I've always wanted to impact people. I've always wanted to be successful. I know, like 20 years ago, I was an engineer. I don't know how I pulled that off, but, and I thought I'd find success in corporate, but it wasn't fulfilling. And so I recently heard something that said, when your core values align with your passion and what you're doing, that's when you find peace and happiness. And so I kind of started dipping my toes in coaching. And you guys, this last 6 months has been the craziest probably since I was engineering. When I engineered, I worked a lot of hours and I had to take continuing ed classes. So I had a lot on my plate. And this 6 months has been it just really has tested my capacity. But what is so cool is I started coaching shortly after I started my journey. And about a month into my journey, I started coaching, and it integrates with my life beautifully. Like, I needed something that could integrate with my life and align with my core values. My core values is impacting people and spending time with my family. And this has just been such a beautiful blessing. And, you know, the last thing I would say is, you know, when you were in sports back in high school, or some of you guys that were just beasts back in college, you had that locker room camaraderie. I think we all long for that, right? And I was longing for that and didn't even know it. And that is what I'm starting to find as I'm stepping into the coaching realm. And I am so excited to see what 2022 brings. So thanks, guys.
Wow. Thank you, Jen, so much. It's been such an honor to walk alongside you, see and watch the transformation. I think you shared so beautifully just the power of giving people the opportunity to make that decision for themselves, take ownership of their own journey, and then walk out the steps with an incredible plan. So let's go ahead and take a look at our poll results. Does that sound good?
Do you remember the mug she was talking about?
Yeah.
Barely, but it's
I know.
amazing how little things have an impact on
They
people.
do.
That's awesome.
So funny. Okay, so let's take a look at our results and see, you know, what we all thought was the most valuable. Oh my goodness, no surprise, right? People really thought all 4 components were something that would serve them. And we agree with you. Okay. We agree with you. We might have had our favorite to start with, but we have fallen in love with these one at a time. And it's been so neat to just see how they incorporate together, they work with each other, and we're going to need all of them along the way. So we just love that part. So we'd like to spend a couple minutes talking to you about the Trilogy Wheel. And this is something that really attracted us early on in our coaching, because we knew people who had one area of their life go out of balance when they were pursuing some of the other areas of life. And so when you look at the wheel, what's beautiful is it's divided into 3 sections: healthy body, mind, and finances. That's really the stories we're talking about today and what we're sharing about on this Zoom. And so you can see that there's a way to kind of rate, like, where am I in these different quadrants? And can you say quadrants when it's 3?
Trifectas, or
where you can see these 3 areas, right? But the idea is, we don't want to see people that are pursuing healthy finances like crazy at a job that maybe, allows them to create great income, but their body and mind are out of balance. Or someone who does something of meaning and purpose that they're very passionate about, but maybe their finances are out of order. And so the beautiful thing with what we offer is that you have the ability to work on all 3 areas. They coincide, they work together, and our goal is to move towards that center ring where we can see that we're living a life of harmony, really, where we can intersect and balance out these different areas. And so the trilogy is just really a powerful piece of what OPTAVIA offers. And we want you to be thinking about that. What's important to you, what areas are already going well, and what areas would you want to make some improvements on? Which leads us to our next story. This is another good friend, and we've watched just a beautiful transformation. He's also served our country for a very long time, and hopefully he'll share that part of his story as well. But we'd love to introduce Curtis and have him come on and share more about his story.
Hey, thank you so much, Bekah and Kevin. You guys have been such great longtime friends since those times in Okinawa that you mentioned earlier. So, maybe I have a little different path than the way in which I came into OPTAVIA. I did serve my country in the Marine Corps, just retired this past year. It's been almost a year and a half now since I left the Corps after almost 30 years. And that picture you saw of me at the beginning, it's my family retirement picture. And for those who have, served in really any capacity for 20 to 30 years, knows that day is an amazing day of memories and basically stories and people coming together from all parts of your life. But oftentimes it's a day of stress. And that's the one thing I can say I didn't have during that transition period, even during a pandemic and all those other things going on in the world at the time. And I really feel that I have OPTAVIA to thank for much of that, because, about 10 years ago, my wife came into OPTAVIA and, she's always kind of been a healthy person. But what she has is an incredibly passionate heart and sharing and giving to others. And when she came into the opportunity to become a health coach, she jumped on it because it just aligned with who she really is. And I'll be similar to Kevin. I was a little apprehensive at the time because we have 4 children, ages 11 to 15. I think 2 boys, 2 girls. You all know, if you've got 4 kids close in age, that time period, is very hectic. But she made it work, and she did it through, working hard, but following the systems. And she created an incredible entrepreneurial business, and it provided more flexibility than I think I anticipated at the time, for sure. And it kind of awoke in me, what exactly could be possible. And so, being the good husband I try to be, I guess she gets a vote on that, but she's a phenomenal military spouse. She had been. She supported me, through everything I'd gone through. And so I wanted to support her. And I went to some of the OPTAVIA events. And that's when it was like, boom, like I totally got it. Like, she had told me, honey, this is different. Like, she's done home-based business before and things like that. Like, she had told me this is different. But I'm from Missouri. I had to see it, right? Believe it myself. And I walked in these rooms with people like Kevin and Bekah and literally thousands of others who are just incredibly good people. Because OPTAVIA has created a culture that, similar to the Marine ethos and culture that I have been part of, is got a foundation of core values and integrity to the mission. Not about transactions and about things. It's about people and heartbeats and how you connect and how you really better yourself, but at the same time pour into others. And so it really greatly aligned with kind of who we are. And so it was, again, very attractive. And I know through my time in the Marine Corps that our country needs this. I mean, like, when you see in kind of Jen's story is to this point, there's so many people who are walking around out there just sleepwalking. They have no idea how good it can be again, or they just they're satisfied with that good enough, or that even more frustrating, that YOLO mindset. But we're called for so much more. We're called for to live truly significant lives, and OPTAVIA has provided that for us. And I just, as I was transitioning, talking to my wife, I was like, I could see myself like fully engaged within this, but we've got to make sure we make financial decisions and others that are going to be best for our family as we have all these kids going off to college, et cetera. And she just jumped right in and built a phenomenal business through a lot of dedicated hard work. And I could step away from the safe route. My resume and what I had done, I had plenty of executive level opportunities, consulting, things like that, that many of my peers have gone to do. But I stepped away from that because I could follow really what my heart's passion was, which again is connecting with people to really raise them up. The Habits of Health system, the elements, the things that I learned over these last 5 to 8 years helped me be such a better Marine officer, and the way I showed up and led my Marines, the way I handled stress, living above the line in stressful situations. I mean, I incorporated that. I taught that to my Marines. So anyway, it's an incredible, just shared ethos that has really bonded my wife and I, and really our whole family, to what this mission is all about. And I'll just, healthy mind is so important, and it's really something I feel I've gained through OPTAVIA. I just want to highlight this past year, as I was getting ready to retire, my daughter, who's 23, had said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to be out west. I'm going to go see some national parks." She has a bucket list of checking off a lot of national parks. I said, "Well, hey, I'll have the time. Are you open for me coming?" And she said yes. And I said, "Awesome." Right. So I had the time to join my daughter, 23 years old, and go 10,000 miles driving to 16 national parks over 8 weeks. And we loved it. I think she loved it, but I mean, we loved it. We had real conversations, not just seeing the beauty of our country, but just those shared experiences and the mind health that comes from that. And that foundationally was enabled through OPTAVIA. And that's just such a blessing. And my whole family came out to the Grand Canyon, and we hiked to the bottom of the canyon, swam back up in one day. For those who have done that, know that's not a simple task. We are not scenic overlookers, because we know health is a priority, and it's allowing us to experience life together as we all grow. So the other thing, there was a picture, I'm not sure if it shows here, but I know on the Facebook it showed me with my grandkids. That is my focus now, obviously, not to be a grandparent who visits, but to be a grandparent who is engaged every day if needed. Whenever my daughter needs me, I'm going to be there. Papo is there. It's exciting. And again, it aligns with what my priorities are. So to finish up, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. I will tell you, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances, like they do all work together. I'm so thankful for my wife being the entrepreneur that she is, with such a worthy company and an incredible mission. And I see, again, so many of my peers who haven't had this opportunity, but hopefully tonight, like maybe you heard something or know somebody that this can, one, become aware, but two, kind of awaken what's truly possible within this to transform and live your life by what really matters most. And for me, that's family. So thank you again. God bless, and Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi, Colonel Carlin. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your family's life of service to this amazing country. And just congratulations to you. It's incredibly rewarding to see you really live out that, what we call the Trilogy of Optimal Health. We call it the trifecta. And we certainly feel blessed to have hit it, but you don't hit it, you work towards it. So think about right now, which one of these, or two or three, I would say the majority of us have at least one, probably two, that we really need to work on. Is it healthy body? Is it healthy mind? Is it the fulfillment and community time, family time? Is it healthy finances? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you literally, one missed day of work or job away from not being able to make your mortgage payment or your rent payment or something like that? So take a couple minutes and please fill out the poll. We're definitely anxious to see which areas you would like most to improve in. And you know what? It might be all three. Bekah and I can definitely say with absolute certainty and confidence that all three of these areas are way better for us today than they were 11 years ago because of the system, the community, and the hard work that we put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about the fact that people will notice, all right? The reason that I got healthy was because I noticed the change in my wife. The reason that Bekah got healthy is she noticed changes in people at our church and other people that she knew that were getting healthy with this program. So the bottom line is you're going to become a walking billboard. The question is, are you going to refer them to your coach, which is a great option, or are you going to pay it forward? Either way, it's an amazing opportunity. And one thing we know is that the more healthy people you have around you, the easier it will be for you to get healthy and to stay healthy. And then, just like Curtis talked about, for you to enjoy a more enriched and fulfilled life with the people that you want to spend time with.
I love that. So let's see what our poll results are. Are you curious?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Most people want to work on all areas. And I think that's truly a testament to the full offer that we have, right? They intersect with each other and we all are needing improvement in our lives. So I love that people have the opportunity to really think this through, but we're not surprised. Are you?
Not at all. The truth is none of these areas are any good if that's the only area that you're thriving in. It might be good for a little while, but ultimately you're going to want to have all three as high as you possibly can.
So you're in the right place. If those were your answers, then you are in the right place because we want to talk about the benefits. So
absolutely. So there are really countless benefits of becoming an OPTAVIA coach, but we're just going to talk about some of the most profound ones that need to be pointed out. The one is it will reinforce your decision to be healthy. I tell this to people all the time. I'm absolutely confident that had I not become a health coach along with my lovely wife, Bekah here, that I would have put all my weight back on. Not because the program doesn't work, not because the habits of health doesn't work, but because I need that external accountability. I need the environment to get healthy and to stay healthy. The second thing is paying it forward. One of the greatest joys in our life is to just pay it forward to other people, to people that we care about and people that we didn't even know that we made an influence on, like Jen coming to our house 10 years ago or so, being able to pay it forward and now see her pay it forward to her sphere of influence. It's a ton of fun. It's incredibly rewarding. If you don't think for a second that we weren't absolutely enjoying what we call the paycheck of the heart by hearing Curtis's story and Jen's story, then I am sure you can understand why we love doing what we're doing. The compensation is amazing. We talk about the currency of goodwill or the paychecks of the heart and the ability to enjoy some compensation for this. And the last thing on the page, but definitely not the last thing that is a benefit, is leaving a legacy. Our children are much healthier today. We eat healthier as a family. We live healthier as a family because of OPTAVIA. And we want to pay this forward to not only our friends or family and our parents, but also our kids and the community around us.
Yeah.
So up next, I want to introduce some dear friends of ours, Fernando and Elisa Medina. They're an amazing couple that have been coaching for and part of the OPTAVIA program for about the last 2 years or so. But Fernando and Elisa, we're really excited to hear you share your story.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin and Bekah. Gosh, well, first of all, my name is Elisa. This is my husband, Fernando, and we are independent OPTAVIA coaches. And we really have been able to experience the full trilogy that OPTAVIA offers. We both came into OPTAVIA as clients, of course, and my story sort of started in 2019 when I was really living my dream job as a CEO of a faith-based nonprofit that I just absolutely loved. However, we had this beautiful blended family, and 2 girls that were getting ready to go into middle school, our youngest kiddos. And I just was feeling this heart pull as a mom. As a young girl, actually at 13 years old, my mom passed away from a sudden heart attack. And my dad also died young, and part of the reason why he passed away was diabetes. So obviously health was always something that I was thinking a lot about. And unfortunately, as I was kind of working my dream job, I was also starting to experience just some real unhealth myself that sort of kind of shook me. Honestly, I was dealing silently with chronic headaches and fatigue, trying to really balance everything on the work front and at home, was gaining weight and was just really, really struggling. I think Jen said this earlier, she was just desperate. And we are people of faith. And so at that point I started praying, and wouldn't you know, that's when Bekah and Kevin came into our life. They introduced this amazing nutrition, optimal health program to us that radically transformed our life. Not only was I able to lose those 30 pounds, I started sleeping better and just overall feeling better. And that was really when God called me to resign from 16 years of nonprofit ministry and be back in the home, just more focused on our girls. And I think that had a lot to do with my own story of losing my mom and wanting to be more present with our kids. But at that same time too, people had been watching our journey and saying, what are you guys doing? You look amazing, you're aging backwards, you feel better. And that's when we were presented with the opportunity of paying this gift forward and becoming health coaches. And the truth is, we've always wanted to work together. We are obsessed about seeing people transform, not just in their healthy body, but also their healthy mind and their healthy finances. So these were things that Fernando and I really had as core values before we even knew that OPTAVIA existed. And so what was sort of me leaving my dream job and Fernando leaving his successful handyman business was us being able to go into a new dream together as coaches. And those paychecks of the heart that you were talking about, Kevin, there is nothing more fulfilling to us than seeing other people find freedom in their health, in their finances, building their lives around what matters most to them. And again, we are coming out of a crazy season with a lot of loss. We know the world is hurting. And there's something really beautiful that can come out of tragedy, and that's reflection. And so for us, we've decided what is most important to us, and that is our family, that is caring for people, of course, seeing people come to faith. And so OPTAVIA for us has been an amazing fit. And I'll let Fernando just share a little bit about being a more present dad and not killing his body, doing all that handyman work, and just being able to spend more time with us. So again, this is a health and hope night. I want to infuse hope into those of you who might be having a great career, but are super tired, super stressed. Is this something that could be a good fit for you just to take that next step and possibly getting healthy? Reach out to the person that invited you to this call. But Fernando, why don't you just share a little bit about what this has been like for you?
Yeah, like everybody else has been mentioning about the changes that we do, not only just the health side, but the mind side and the finances sides too. So for me, it was, I grew up in a third world country. Always, our ethic is like, you work hard, you deserve it, and in some way you get your identity and the way that you work. Mm-hmm. So I knew the working hard for me was not going to be a problem. Elisa mentioned it earlier. I love my job. Construction, it was pretty fun for me. I used to joke around and say, hey, when I was a kid, I get spanked when I bust in walls. Now I get paid for busting the walls and rebuild it. But one time I was working with a good friend of mine, mm-hmm. and then we were having lunch and having a conversation, and we did this project. It was beautiful. It was super fulfilled job. And he did say something to me that it was very profound. And I said, Fernando, you know what? It is really, really good to build a building. But you know what is more fun is to restore souls. And I remember taking that one and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Obviously I'm getting older, my body's taking a hit and say, okay, what can I do? But I don't want to lose coming alongside other people too. Mm-hmm. So OPTAVIA has been to that. It gave me a second win in my career. And I still think about that phrase that my friends say, and it's better to build the souls than build walls. So it is very awesome for us. In a couple of weeks, actually I'm going to Curtis just went in the past summer. I'm going to the Grand Canyon with my 2 daughters, and we're just gonna go and just have fun and just be free, and the ability to be able to work anywhere I go. So that is really, really made me excited. I'm super pumped. My girls are super excited too. So that's what OPTAVIA has done for us too. We do have we set up some financial goals in our life, and one, it was paid off the house, which now we are debt free on every single aspect. Everything we have, we own it. So that's the beauty that we experience in OPTAVIA. That is such a gift for our family, for us, and for the people around us too. So that's our encouragement today.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you guys so very much. Again, for us, the blessing is on our side to listen to the stories, to know that just what feels like a simple offer from some of us who've had success is a gift that's able to be opened. As Fernando and Elisa and every speaker has shared, it takes work and effort to create the lifestyles that these people each have. And for each and every one of us, it's a choice, whether we'll put the work in, the time and the effort to do something with the gift that's been given. But what we love about this so very much is the opportunity. And so we're just so grateful to have the ability to do life alongside these people. It's a lot of joy for Kevin and I. And so as we go through the last couple of minutes, we just want to share that we do have a progressive growth model. It's very nice to know that you can go through different things and build competencies. Everyone who chooses to coach comes in as an OPTAVIA coach, where you learn to support clients. And then obviously, if you would like to start working with coaches, you bring in partners who coach alongside you, and you train and develop coaches. And then if you have teams of coaches coaching people, you can become a business leader. And all of these competencies take time and effort, but there are people coming alongside you and helping you to develop those skills. The degree of competency will really follow the skill sets and the level of activity. So again, it takes that intention, it takes that work and the skill sets that are needed, but people will come alongside you. It's really beautiful because we have a relational model. People come first. This is about people helping people. And that's really how you move through the progressive models. That's what we love about this. Is we started coaching clients, we started working with coaches, and then we started developing coaches and clients together. And it's all about the people. And when you help someone else, it's really good for your overall well-being. And so again, it fills into that trilogy piece that we talked about. You're self-employed and you're independent, which is a really beautiful part of what we do. There's very low startup and operating costs. So it's really attractional from that standpoint, and no inventory. As you heard from the testimonies, you can work from anywhere, which we've experienced. And one of the things we love very much about what we do is a flexible business for busy people. And then we obviously bring about training and support. And that is part of what is provided in OPTAVIA when you decide to come alongside us and coach. So here are a couple of action steps as we wrap up. Reach out to the person who invited you to this community time. Let them know your thoughts, ask some questions, make the decision to incorporate the trilogy, because it's important for each and every one of us to know where we are and where we would like to go. We really want to invite you on whatever capacity speaks to you to jump in and join us. Maybe for you, it's taking a step towards your personal health journey, getting healthy and becoming a client. Maybe you're someone who has an interest in becoming a coach, and so you want to explore what that looks like a little bit more, but it doesn't take very long to get started. And so please reach out to that person and decide if this is a fit, because we would be honored and we would love to have you come alongside us. We have an important mission. We talk about its lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time, and the world needs what we have. And so we're really excited to be able to help create health and well-being out there. Thanks again for your time tonight. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night.
At OPTAVIA, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The previous audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the OPTAVIA community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join OPTAVIA, but please note that they have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with OPTAVIA. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earnings representations of some independent OPTAVIA coaches. The stories shared reflect the unique experience of a very small percentage of OPTAVIA coaches and should not be relied upon by prospective or current OPTAVIA coaches as an indication of what they should expect to earn. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with OPTAVIA results from successful sales efforts which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. OPTAVIA acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to OPTAVIA coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For OPTAVIA coaches operating in the US, please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent OPTAVIA coaches operating in the US under the US Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan.